Good morning.
Good morning, Debbie. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Congrats on your boyfriend.
Thank you. How how's I never did get back to you, I don't think, now that I'm thinking about it. Because I was about to ask
Recording
you.
in progress.
Huh?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
What?
You did not get back to me.
Okay, I'm gonna pull that up
I,
right now while I'm thinking about it.
okay,
But
I think I have two, but
you
that's
should
up for
still,
debate
that
always.
yeah. Yeah, because our changes should not have affected that at all. So if
Okay,
yeah,
cool. Because I think I've used a whole bunch with Kristen, but I might have not marked them off.
okay. So, hey Sherry, I'm gonna send. I'm gonna start a group chat. Debbie with me, you and Sherry. And I'm gonna send you what I have, and we'll figure out what you have from there.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks.
Okay, you're welcome.
I was muted, sorry.
Oh no, that's okay.
Good morning, Miss Sherry.
Good morning, Debbie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. I feel like
Enjoyed your cute family picture. That was cute.
you. They are fun, too fun. Okay, I'll watch for that message and I'll jump in. So, while you guys, I think there's still people joining and things like that. So I'll let you guys join. But while we're waiting, does anyone have any questions about how to grow their bookkeeping business, find clients, handle clients, things like that? Or anything related to your bookkeeping business?
Nope, just got to get out there and get it done.
Yeah. Often that's the reality is, when I get on a marketing call with someone and we're talking about, how much or things like that. And I know this isn't necessarily related to you, but just in general, we'll start talking about, well, how many people are you adding on Facebook? How many messages are you sending out? Or if they're doing Upwork, because I went through my Upwork training, how many proposals are you sending out and things like that. And then, if it's only 5, that's not enough of a test pool. 5, 10, 15, 50. just isn't enough to really start doing marketing, right? So if we only do 300, and 300, I'm kind of encouraging people to do 100 to 300 a month of some sort of outreach. But for instance, if we wouldn't put up 300 flyers in our city and said, hey, I'm a bookkeeper, I think you need, whatever, or, 300 postcards to your neighborhood, that test size isn't going to be enough. You did it on such a small scale that we shouldn't expect a client from it necessarily. Over time, yes. So 100 a month, 300 a month over time, as long as we're tracking the metrics and paying attention to what the return of that time and investment is, you should, like for me, I know if I get on Upwork, people that are doing Facebook, going through Cameron's program or doing something very similar, we know 100 to 300, and to describe that looks a little different, but we know that volume consistently done yields 1 to 3 clients a month. So just throwing that out there. 5 is not enough to do. 10 is not enough to do to expect a full book of business, right? And I don't know why we do that. Cameron's going to do a thing. If you follow him, he's up to something to help our accountant brains understand marketing better. Because we want it to be that simple, right? Well, I put 300 out there. I should have 3 clients. And sometimes he said it's not 2 + 2 = 4. So, so don't shoot me. I'm learning 2 + 2 does not equal 4 in the marketing world. So I'm good.
Yeah, I think that when he was on the call with us the other day, I think that was like really eye-opening, because I mean, how many times you and I, especially, like, we're doing all the same things. Why is this not working right now?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Debbie,
So,
sometimes it's 17.
Yeah. Or 17 + 2 = 4. Yeah. Okay. So with that, so, we're doing marketing, we're getting clients, but we're just starting our business, and we're maybe in that trap of any client will do. Any client will do. Maybe we're still dealing with like the employee mindset type things, but we see a lot of bookkeepers, well, they'll get on a one-to-one call with us. Guys, we love one-to-one calls. I've got a lot of one-to-one calls this week, which is super fun, but they've been fun calls, and they haven't always been about the nitty-gritty. Is this a debit or credit? It's, my client wants me to do this, but it's not working. Or, hey, my client's, got a lot of scope creep. I'm looking at doubling his quote. How do I go about this? We were dealing with someone quoting yesterday, going from like 2,100 a month to 4,200 a month, and that was still like, I coached this particular person. I'm like, that's still low for the amount of time they're spending 60 to 80 hours a month on it right now. So I'm like, we're going to continue to work with them on processes and efficiencies to see if we can get that number down. Because based on what he said, it can come down. But, that's not his target hourly rate. So, but when we put it into the calculator and assess what he's actually doing for the client, it does seem like there's some wasted time. But the quote's 4,200. He's doing their entire accounting department, right? Getting a lot of calls. So we talked through that. So that's one way to use one-to-ones. The other way is when you have these clients who don't know what to expect from you, and you don't know what to expect from you. So I had a client early on. I still have this client to this day, but he's like, I have this other business. I want you to cut checks for them. Okay, so I described the situation to my husband. Here's what's going on. Well, they had to cut distribution checks to all of their clients. Guys, don't do this. I fought my husband on this, and I went to him. I was like, I don't know, should I do this? Should I not? And I was trying to get the income up. So yes, okay, I'll do it. I'll print the checks, drive them 45 minutes to you, and have you sign them, and let you send them out. Right? Like, super inconvenient, not really worth the expense there. But at that point in time when I said yes to this, I didn't have someone to bounce it off of. I think if I had said, hey, Megan, my client wants me to do this, she would have been like, heck no, don't do that. Does that make sense? Is that part of what you want to do with little ones? Because I had 2 little bitty babies, and so I'd have to drive them. And I did this even with a newborn. We had our third little, and I remember like 6 weeks postpartum, I'm doing checks, and I was so grumpy about it. So it was not a win-win. So I should have said that. So who do you have in your corner to bounce things off of? Whether it's they're wanting to commingle, or this week a very popular question has been multiple businesses inside of a QBO file. The simple rule of thumb on should they have separate QB files is if they have separate tax returns, separate Schedule Cs, separate tax returns, they should be in separate QBO files. If they're separate operating entities, right? So if you have a cleaning company that's a sole prop and a rental property that's a sole prop, I probably don't want to do those 2 in the same QBO file, because you're cleaning, you leave, someone comes in before you're done and the floors are still soaking wet, right? I was mopping my floor the other day, and Aiden comes around the corner and slips on it, literally around the floor and hit his head on the back of the totally bad. There was dangerous water. I'm not a restaurant, I don't have cones. So he hit his head. But what if you do that as a cleaning business? You can get sued, you can get asked for money, you can get taken to court, right? So if that happens, I don't really want them to know about the rental property. And that is a whole nother can of worms. But I want the court to say, oh yeah, these financials, they're not paying. They don't make enough to pay. They had a sign, you were negligent. That's on you, not them, right? Like, I want to do the best to kind of separate the finances so that I'm protecting the limited liability that an LLC brings us, right? So, and so what that means, if you've heard piercing the corporate veil, some of those things, guys, I'm sorry, my husband had to run to the bank and all of these things. So we are being flexible. It is hard on me sometimes to be flexible, but we are being flexible. So bear with me. I totally apologize for being on the car today. But that liability protection, the reason we're so anxious to get it often is to protect the liability. Yeah, we think we need it, for formality, but the ultimate reason is I want some sort of protection. If we're commingling the business, like we're commingling business or personal, if they look like the same business on paper, the court is going to treat them like the same business. Okay, so best practice, separate QBOs. Okay, Elise has a question on Facebook about separate QBO files. On the side of the different QBO files, just had a potential client tell me there's a button for him to select between it. Yes, so what he's referring to there is he has the same login just like you do on your QBO when you like accountant. And if you get added, it's like Megan had me look at something at one point, so I can see her company and mine. Megan, feel free to remove me. I don't think I need access to yours. I don't touch it, but like I can list of QBO companies that I have, and I can just select between them. I think that's probably what he's saying, unless he's using QuickBooks Enterprise. QuickBooks Enterprise allows you to have multiple companies that need to be rolled up into one, and that's more like a desktop type thing, but it's called QuickBooks Enterprise, which isn't desktop, isn't QuickBooks Online. It is its own thing, but I believe it functions like desktop does. But then you can do some consolidated financials. But I think that's what he's meaning. At least that's the only time I've seen a button to, to pick different businesses, and it's because he has like the same account, but they're underneath. And sometimes you have to call QuickBooks to have it set up that way, but it's 2 different subscriptions. The way you would know for sure is getting accounts and access to them. But I've never seen like that's the only time I've seen a button. So there's still QuickBooks separate files within the same login.
Yeah, I have a client who they've set up some new ones recently and use the same email address for all of their businesses, and we set it up through CBG. But yeah, that's how they do it. So like when you first log in, they have to select which company they want to go in there.
Yeah, and so he might have one payment, because if he did like the multi-company discount or whatever, it'll come out as one payment. So in his mind, he might have one QuickBooks subscription with all 3. Okay, cool. That's so much fun. Locations are an interesting thing. So locations sometimes can go into the same QuickBooks files. If they have if they have the same EIN and they really are just a location underneath it, like 2 different operating locations, like a mall kiosk and a physical location, that might be under the same EIN, the same business. If it's like a franchise model, you'll have 3 different EINs, and some operators, as they purchase different locations, like if they purchase the location from someone, because it already has employees, already has customers, already has Google traffic, it would be another location with its own EIN. So that, and you'll know that for sure when you start getting into his entity setup and requesting his IRS documents and tax returns and things like that. But absolutely, I just don't want someone, at least I know you understand what's going on here. I don't want someone to hear this replay and think, oh, because you have 3 different locations, or we're tracking departments, or we're class tracking of any sense, you have to have a separate QBO file. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there. And then there are some exceptions. If you have a sub-qualified business underneath a business, you could have it, it's the same QBO file. And that's why I default to the evaluate EINs, but evaluate the tax returns, talk to the CPA, talk to their lawyer. We want to protect them, not just say, oh yeah, it's normal, I've seen this before. Every business operates a little differently. And sometimes it's a matter of getting their lawyer involved. Hey, what was the intent of setting it up this way? Hey, CPA, are you just trying to save them money? Sometimes that's not, saving them money, $50 a month, might not be worth it in a lawsuit. Like, we're going to regret that. We're going to regret that spend so much. You can save them money by saying, hey, you're spending $25 on bank fees every month. Do you realize that? Right? And so there's other ways to save them money. All right. I don't think I see any other questions on Facebook, but let me know if I missed anything. Yeah, 2 under the same login. That's really common. So with that, like, what do we do when a client has, they don't want to separate them. They want to do it the same. They want to leave them in the same QuickBooks file. As a business owner, it's also your job to be the expert in your field. So if a client wants to do something that you don't do as a firm or support as a firm, you have the permission. Can I just give you permission today to say, no, I don't do that. I will not put 2 EINs, the same QBO file, if they are separate, like if they need to be separated and there's not a legal reason for them to be combined, which you can do by talking with the client. You can evaluate. I'm not going to say that this is an end all be all, because occasionally you can find an exception. where, you know, they're not like the business owner doesn't fully know what's going on. And by you asking the right questions and getting the right documents, you can understand the business better than they understand the business. So I'm giving you permission to say no and to say that you don't want the client. You could say no and either disengage. I disengaged with the client before for committing workers' comp fraud. I'm not going to participate in that. You know, he's wanting me to code contractors, actual contractor payments, and telling me I don't want them found on the workers' comp audit. Please put them elsewhere. I'm not doing that. Not doing that. Bye. See ya. Find another bookkeeper. Right. So it was a multi-million-dollar company in construction and all of those things. I'm not going to participate. Yes, I know you're trying to help these guys, but like, because he was in the border of like California and whatnot, and he was hiring a lot of cash pay day labor to work with him, and that's a great way. Like, we want to hire locally to support our businesses. We want to hire good people to support people's families. That is the biggest perk of having a business, is not the hiring, it's the enabling people to provide for their families, doing something they love doing, and giving them a work environment that allows them to thrive as a dad, as a mom, as a human being, right? Like, that is one of the biggest benefits of owning a business, right? But that comes with greater responsibility, and he was avoiding that responsibility, so I had to let him go. But so you can say no. Hopefully that gives someone permission to enforce better boundaries with their clients. Say no, that's not the correct way to do the accounting for this. I had to do this with a client. They coded something. They got it decoded it, and I'm like, why did you get it decoded? Just tell me what. But I guess that's probably what they were doing with their previous bookkeeper, is they were coding complicated stuff, and they like coded everything to, and they made an expense account, coded everything for this transfer to an expense account. And I'm like, that is not normal. That's not normal. That's not accounting policies. So if you have a client telling you to do something complicated, that's a really good way. Like, and if you don't know, if you're like, hey, the client wants to do this, I'm unsure of it, one-to-one. Say, okay, let me look into those transactions for you. Let me look into that for you. Meanwhile, you're checking out and scheduling the one-to-one the next day with me, with Megan, with Jara, with Sandra, Chelsea, the list goes on. There's over 10 coaches here who all have their business. Most of them are over 6 figures. If they're not over 6 figures, 100% that's by choice, because they've got other purposes for their business where they're also wanting time. So for them to continue to grow their business, it would be a hindrance on their time and the purpose of starting the business. So they're doing this. They've encountered it over the years with their clients. So I've gotten on lots of calls. Megan, I think you had a call with someone this week too. And I've gotten on calls. Even a couple of weeks ago, I had a call with someone who the client finally wanted her to go back, like to the beginning, to do it correctly. She's spending a lot of time on it to now go undo, because she had to like force some things that it was messy to force to begin with. She spent a lot of time to figure out how to force it. It was not correct accounting, but because that meant their financials were so off, the client finally was like, yep, they're so wrong. We need to fix this. Now she's having to undo and like really fix it. And it took a lot of time. And so she is making herself now as efficient as possible by getting on one-to-ones. So we get on, we discuss, here's the next step. She can go do it and she can come back if needed. Or she can post in the group and say, am I still on the right track, whatever. We have the co-working calls that she can get on to like touch base throughout the week. So she can get on Monday, she can get on a one-to-one on Tuesday, she can get on a one-to-one on Wednesday, and then she can attend the co-working call on Thursday and knock it all out, right? Like it's that efficient if you're working on a project. So let me know if you have any questions with that. But something I was looking for, I paid a CFO when I started thinking I was going to get more of that. Because he's like, yeah, I'll help you. And I'm like, you're just a CFO. Here's like your personal CFO work for me. And we happily paid him every month. And then we started realizing, okay, you're not quite the help I need for business, helping us over here, which is great, but I still have questions you can't answer. Just because I was on my own and I couldn't run the check situation by someone. So, all right. Those are my rambling thoughts on us as business owners taking control over what we do with our businesses, the work that we take on. Yes, you can say no. I know you need money. I know you need clients to say yes. The best way to do that is to say no to bad clients and increase the volume on your marketing efforts. 10x the marketing efforts, and you will have the bandwidth and grace to say no when it's really not a good fit for you. Okay. Megan, is there anything you want to add to all of that?
I don't think so. I agree. I mean, we were kind of talking earlier a little bit. I had one-to-one this week that was kind of similar situation, that hop on and talk about what the client suggested they do to do the bookkeeping, and it definitely was not the correct way to do it or anything like that. So I mean, definitely, but sometimes you just don't know, and that may have been, especially in the very beginning of my business, could have been something that I was like, hey, I sounds like a great idea, we're gonna do it and roll with it. So yeah, I think bouncing stuff off of coaches or people who've been there is definitely a huge thing to make sure that you're doing a good service for your clients and everything's being done correctly, for sure. And
I think the nice thing about the way the coaches have the way that we get on one-to-one calls with everyone is we don't care what the topic is. If it is a question you have, something that's holding up your business, something that's keeping you from hitting your goal, if it's a question you have, it's a valid one, right? Or, I mean, technically, Jara commented so for instance, like if you're on an island by yourself in this bookkeeping business and you just need some adult time conversation and you just want to like pick Jara's brain or whatever, she was totally like, get on a call with me. I don't care what the topic is. So if you just want to chit chat and vent about your day, she will technically get on a call with you. She's going to totally hate me for saying that. She did say it though. So,
so if she comes back,
she's going to jump into this conversation and be like, no, totally kidding. But yesterday we were answering someone's question about what they named their business. Because they had an LLC, they're switching over. They really want to push the bookkeeping, but they want to use their LLC for something else. They want to keep that in reserve for something else. So, we're able to give our perspective, and it wound up not being, oh yeah, that's a great name. It was it available? Is it available in social media handles? All of the things that we cover in the course. But in a one-to-one format where we could just answer you on that question to keep you moving forward. I had a quoting call yesterday, processes and procedures. I also had one of those yesterday where it was someone getting bogged down with Excel sheets and all of the add-on type things that clients will send us, all the scope creep stuff. And we troubleshooted how to get through some of that. Like, what are some things that they can do without hiring full-time, hiring part-time, things like that? What are some things that they could do to simplify the process and get to a point where they could hire someone, even if it were 2 hours a week, to do some of those tasks, and how to identify them and then how to price it accordingly so that you could hire And that was something they hadn't even thought about, was how to price it so that they could hire, like with the intent to hire. And I gave them my 5X, 6X rule, but that's better explained one-to-one.
Yeah.
So not here, but so yeah, I've seen them used. We've had one client or one student use them. I think I get on a call with today someone who's using it as accountability. They every 2 weeks they get on a one-to-one with me to keep themselves moving forward, and they'll come with a question. So I know today we're talking about sales process for them, but what he does is he just every 2 weeks he gets on a one-to-one to keep himself moving forward, so that he's going to hit his target by year end. Because he figured out, we've been working together for a few months, and he figured out that's what's going to help him right now, right? It's that flexible, so whatever that is for you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times people forget that they can use the one-to-ones for stuff like that and whatnot. Like, hey, I don't know why I'm not closing these deals. I'm getting on sales calls. Like anything related to your business, like we are happy to hop on and chat about it.
We've had reviewing emails, we've had reviewing financials, we've had reviewing sales calls, reviewing Calendly, but those processes. I've chatted about email marketing, I've chatted about YouTube, I've talked about podcasting, one-to-ones. I've talked about almost every area of business, how to handle family and business. How do I make this business not like ruin my life type conversation. We've had those. And we've had those just with, I'm going crazy, I'm losing my mind, I'm mad at the world, and they'll get on a call and it's okay, well, we just need a plan. And maybe it's something obvious to us what's going on, but it's not so obvious when you've also got life going on and you're trying to do this and you just don't know where to focus or put your time, and you're running yourself ragged. We've seen those. Because hustle culture, right? We have to hustle to get the bookkeeping business going. I know I did do a lot of hustling. Megan, I know you did do a lot of hustling. Some of that is not knowing good processes to put in place when you're getting started, or good boundaries on your time, right? So when you're having to step back and say, oh wait, what did I do this for? We're so caught up on doing the 100%, not the 20. So as we can identify what is the 20% that is going to get us the farthest, we can double down on that. And we start tracking metrics and start tracking what's going on in our business. And that will allow you to focus on what's actually growing the business and get rid of the 80% that's not, or offload the 80% you don't want to focus on. So you can utilize all of our experiences and kind of avoid some of the hustle that isn't needed, right? The hustle with, we spent too much time on, I spent way too much time on my logo. Anyone else? I changed it like 3 times and I've spent so much time on branding. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It might matter a little bit, but it doesn't matter. Logo does not matter. The service you offer, the value you bring, your mission for the business will go so much farther than the look of your logo or your business name. Like, obviously we don't want to, like Undercover Billionaire, the season 2, the juice shots business wound up getting sued or something after it aired. They're no longer really an e-commerce business. If you go look at them, they rebranded, changed their name, stuff like that. So that was a case of I think she didn't check the trademarks and stuff going on. So we want to pay attention a little bit to what's going on with our name, We want to make sure it's available. We want to make sure we're not encroaching on copyrights and things like that. But that doesn't mean that someone like in our coaching business, someone has also come out with just recently started a new business, completely unrelated. I don't even know if they know that we exist. And they have a very similar name to one of our programs that we offer. Okay, what is that? But we met with a trademark attorney, and they wouldn't necessarily. We ran into a snag with it just being too common of a name, like the individual words themselves. Like bookkeeper is a common word, so we would have to do some more things with that, right? So pay attention to it a little bit, but don't stop the business for it, right?
Right.
You could do something, because you can do Megan Davis LLC DBA Louisiana bookkeeping, right? Something super vague, something that's available in Louisiana, and it really just doesn't matter that much. Just doesn't seem like it matters that much. We want people to understand what it is that we're doing. So there were some perks to having bookkeeping in the name. But for this person that we were talking to yesterday, I had a conversation. It wasn't until I found out that she wanted to use her LLC for a different business altogether. Because at first I was like, well, why not just use that? Who cares that it doesn't say bookkeeping? Because you can brand, you can do the SEO so strongly that it won't matter. Let's just keep you moving. But then we found out she wanted to use DBAs under an LLC. I don't know if there's a limit. I have seen so many DBAs. I've seen 15, I know. Let's see. I used to audit for-profit businesses, and we would encounter DBAs. So we would do consolidated financials for franchises, multiple locations, things like that. Let's see. I'm not really getting it like a number. It's just, yes, you can have multiple. Unlimited DBA names, and they're not separate legal entities. So a note on that, right? So a DBA, if you have an LLC, the owners of that LLC are also the same owners, and they have to be the same owners on that DBA. So when you file the DBA, the owners have to match, or it's a separate business. So something to consider Let me know if that answered your question. So like a holding company is going to have multiple, well, they might have multiple sub LLCs, not DBAs. Think about QuickBooks, Intuit. I'm wagering, I don't know for sure, but like TurboTax, Credit Karma, all of those things, if you look at the bottom of Intuit's website, it will tell you QuickBooks, Credit Karma, TurboTax are all trademarks underneath Intuit.com. So I'm not sure that they are standalone companies with the way that that's worded. Yeah, they all have their own like website, all of those things. They operate individually, but if you're looking to do something like that. Oh yeah, that's okay. Absolutely, tax and bookkeeping under. Yep. So yeah, you'll have your. And then do you have separate bookkeeping for both of those DBAs, or are you just thinking about doing it? Or do you track them as separate locations? No, that's just curious. Any other questions related to any of that, or something that's keeping you stuck? And Megan, I don't know, do you want to share the one-to-one link in case we can help someone?
Yep.
And guys, it is right on our website. You kind of scroll to the bottom and you can find it there. There's a bundle of them and you can buy them individually. You also get one-to-ones included in the Bookkeeper Blueprint bundle. So if you join the support group, you get 2 one-to-ones a month. We also have options for unlimited one-to-ones so that you can have as many one-to-ones as you need to get projects done. So we've seen people use like the bundle of one-to-ones, so you can get 6 one-to-ones at a time, and those don't expire. We have seen people use 4 in one setting, where they will talk to a coach and they're like, hey, this is a bigger mess than the coach originally thought, they thought, and they're having to like go through and nitpick all of the transactions to really get it untangled. And that is the rare occasion. We were talking about it in our last coaches meeting, and this particular cleanup is like not normal it's not normal as far as how intertwined it is. So, I mean, yes, we have complex cleanups and things like that, but as far as the third parties that they're using, it's not normal for that third party to be so messy. So with them, they talked about it and they're like, yeah, let's, you know, if you're willing to buy the bundle, I can arrange 2 hours of sitting down with you. And so she used 4 one-to-ones in one setting, and I think they got a lot done. I don't know if they're done with it, but they got a ton done. So, and they were both super ready. They're both ready to get it done. So it's kind of like bringing a team member on at the end of the day. In that situation, it's let's just knock this out, and you're learning along the way, right? I know some coaches will occasionally click buttons so that they make sure that they're telling you the right thing without wasting your time. I don't take control over screen share. Ultimately, whether a coach uses the mouse to help you out or you do it, the goal is for you to walk away understanding what went wrong, what needs to be done to fix it. And then it becomes like, especially if you record it, if you start recording these one-to-ones, it starts to become your processes and procedures. It becomes your training tool with, oh yeah, if we encounter this again, I can have this resource to go back and remember how to undo it, like how to fix it. Or, oh, next month we encountered this same issue. We didn't fix it all the way. We forgot to hit this button, the setting. So it did it again. So like there's settings like don't apply credits, but we forgot to click it. We corrected them this month, but we forgot to go change the setting. So it happened to us again. We have to go fix some credits. Well, now you have that video from the one-to-one. You can go reference without getting on another one-to-one because you already have the tools and the resources now available to you, recorded where you ask the questions you need to ask. You're seeing it on your client, like it's recorded for you. We don't record them. You can record them and then you can save them to your files. We do not want, the coaches don't want your client's files. We don't want your client files. That's all for you. So hope that was helpful today.
Sherry, did you see Jell's comment about a contractor?
I technically have, as far as a bookkeeping contractor, I tried one a couple of months ago to do stuff on my books specifically, and it didn't work out. So I've tried, I don't currently. I do have a admin, a virtual assistant who does something very specific for me, and she is outside of the US. She is in the Philippines. Don't take her away from me. I like her.
Yeah, I'm, you know what, like, I'm just like right now I have two contractors, like they're local, they're my friends, but like I'm not really like 100% liking the other one right now. Like she's very slow, so I'm trying to find one that's more efficient, with their time. So I was looking for like outside, like Philippines, I know my fellow Filipino, they're very hard worker, but I'm just not sure about the security, like I just don't want to give my clients, access and all that, so that's why I'm curious if you guys have tried outside of the Philippines as far as bookkeeping, because it's kind of sensitive,
Yeah, I've tried it. There's a lot of things to consider. Security is one of the most important ones. So if it's an individual, you have to wonder, do they really have the security? So I didn't go with an individual when I went outside of the Philippines. I went with a company who had the security in place, but I didn't like it. It just wasn't for me in that particular instance. So some of the things that I do for security, Megan and I chatted about this yesterday on the support call. Anyway, side note, I do not get client login information. I never want access to money. So I 100% always get now. I had a couple of clients throughout the years, but that's a totally different story. Totally different day. Same reason we were having the conversation yesterday. But so if you don't have access to their bank, you could pull statements, accountant read-only access to pull statements, and then they would just have the statements in QuickBooks access, right? They wouldn't have access to any account.
Yeah.
My US-based contractor, just because she's the only one that's pulling statements, so I have two people pulling statements. They're both US-based. They can pull statements, but we have accountant logins, and then you could have different requirements for, like, do they have encryption installed on their computer, or you need to pay to have that installed through. There's a Windows update. We can totally get on a one-to-one, maybe with my husband, to we just went through and beefed up on my computer, the VPNs, all of those things. So you could do that.
Yeah. So, well, actually, I had my sister, I think 2 years ago, or like when I just started, and I showed her everything. I gave my like old like MacBook, but I set it up for her, like VPN and everything. I told her not to, what is this, like connect to a public Wi-Fi, just hotspot, but make sure that she's, in a safe, private. But yeah, I can't hire anymore because she's having a baby. She's having a baby. So that's why I'm trying to like see another option. But yeah, that's what I do with my contractors right now before I even give the laptops, because I provide the laptop.
Yeah, and you can always like buy them like a training every 6 months, and you can say, here's cybersecurity training, here's this training or whatever, to make sure that they're trained on the latest security for themselves.
Yeah, because that's all I do really. Like I already know like how to set up the laptop and all that. Like they can't just, like I block everything, make sure they don't have the client's access. I do have one, but I don't really give them, the logins and stuff. Only the one that they can view the transactions and pull statements, but not full access. I only have a few clients that I have full access on, but I'm just curious that, I don't, so it didn't work out for you then. So maybe I'll try to check companies, in the Philippines and see.
Yeah. So I find jobs when I'm hiring. This worked for me. It's just a job board. The only reason it didn't work for me was because I was focused on another project, and I decided to, instead of the particular one I hired, after interviewing quite a few, didn't actually have the skills she led me to believe she had. So we just did it. So I always do like a 10-hour test with them. I just give them a test project and say, we're just testing this out. And she's actually still with me. She does about an hour or two a week. So I now have three people. I have 4 people that do anywhere from 2 to 20 hours a week on something. Wow. And 3 of those are actually from the Philippines.
And they do bookkeeping or just admin stuff?
My US based person does admin stuff, or my US based person does my payroll, AR, and some coding of some transactions for a couple of clients. She works about 2 hours a week. And then the the bookkeeper that I hired that wound up, I don't have her do transactions anymore. So I've reduced her rate, or not her rate, but we reduced her hours. And we're training her on different things, specifically for like me. So that like she's doing a budget, she's doing my payroll to make sure all the contractors get paid, things like that. And then the other 2 are admin.
Okay. Yeah, I'll probably do that. Just specific tasks, like not the old, all bookkeeping stuff. Maybe I'll just,
My recommendation before you hand something off to anyone, US based or not, I do have another outsourced option that does do some of my bookkeeping for me here, US based. That actually does my bookkeeping.
Oh, okay.
About that too. So I pay 5 different.
Yeah.
Sure. I have that person, and then I have another US based contractor. I forgot. She does 2 clients for me every month. She's US based, do the transactions, coding, reconciling. So I have 2 US based, and then the Filipinos, and then which I love. I would not get rid of them, so that no one come after me. They're much fun. And and then I have one she has a company, so she's a bookkeeper, but she has a company and she does a lot of my clients currently. And then I do the others personally. But what the recommendation me and Megan give is, before you outsource it, know how to do it. Have a process in place. So know how to do it, know where you want stuff coded, know what's going on with the client, what needs to be done. Like do the client first.
Yeah, that's what.
Have it organized, ready to go, and then give very clear processes and procedures to the person that's taking it over.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing for the last 7 months. Like I manage the client's books first for like the first 3 months, and then once it's good to go, I handed it to them. Yeah, that's for my local contractors. So I'm just still thinking for the outside. It's just the security that I'm really concerned of. But yeah, thank you for that, insight, Sherry. I'm gonna think of that specific task and, disseminate it with different contractors.
Yeah, some have security measures in place if they're overseas like that. But be careful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. Any other questions, or Megan, is there anything else on Facebook?
No, I don't see anything else on Facebook. Yep, I think that is all.
So Megan posted the link to the one-to-ones, the support calls, if we can help. Obviously, you could get reoccurring calls if you are in the communities. If you bundle or the Bookkeeper Plus, you can get more built-in calls where you just know that you have them. and we want you to use them. We find that the people on the calls in the group, like getting on the individual calls, don't get stuck, and they don't stay stuck for as long. So, I mean, they get stuck, but they don't stay stuck for as long. They're more quickly able to just keep moving. So we have the co-working calls, we have the quoting call, the support calls. We do a sales and marketing training. We talk about the actual accounting and bookkeeping concepts. I don't know what to say there. The coaches are mad at me for saying concepts, but like all of the technical behind the scenes accounting concepts and basics, so that you can continue growing your skills as a bookkeeper, as an accountant, all of those things. So if we can help, let us know. Yeah, thanks, Jels, for jumping on. You guys have a good rest of your day. Post in the group if you have questions. We like helping. So, anything else, Megan?
Nope, I think that's it.
Okay. Bye, guys. I will see you guys next Thursday.
Bye.